The stars glittered like distant gems against the black void as the human transport ship Pioneer sailed smoothly through space. Captain Jack Wilson stood at the viewport, watching as they approached the newly established colony on Epsilon 9. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said to no one in particular. 15 colonies across 7 star systems. Not bad for a species that only figured out faster than light travel 3 centuries ago. Humanity had spread cautiously but steadily among the stars. Earth remained the center of human civilization, but the colonies were thriving, each developing their own unique cultures while maintaining strong ties to their homeworld. It had been a golden age of exploration and growth. First contact with the Galactic Council had occurred 50 years ago. The Council, a federation of 23 advanced alien species, had greeted humans with what seemed like cautious welcome. Trade agreements were signed, cultural exchanges began, and humans took their place as the newest member of the galactic community. The Pioneer was just one of hundreds of ships that regularly traveled between Earth and its colonies, carrying supplies, settlers, and news from home. Captain Wilson's comm unit buzzed. "Sir, we're picking up unusual energy signatures from the direction of Epsilon 9. Wilson frowned. "What kind of signatures?" Before the officer could answer, the viewport filled with blinding light. When Wilson's vision cleared, his blood ran cold. The colony of Epsilon 9, home to 3 million humans, was engulfed in fire. Massive warships hung in orbit, raining destruction on the defenseless settlement below. "Council ships," the officer whispered in horror. "They're council ships." The Pioneer turned and fled, but similar reports came in from every human colony. The attacks had been perfectly coordinated, without warning or declaration of war. Orbital bombardments targeted population centers first, then infrastructure. Billions of human lives were snuffed out in a matter of hours. On Earth, the Global Defense Council scrambled to respond as a massive council fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. President Anna Moore faced the alien communication with a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Why? We've done nothing to provoke this." The alien on the screen, a tall, blue-skinned being known as High Commander Dux of the Drek species, regarded her coldly. "The Council has determined that humans are too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted growth," he stated. "Your species exhibits alarming traits: aggressive expansion, resource consumption, and most concerning, unpredictable behavior patterns. Our predictive models show a 78% probability that unchecked human development would destabilize the galactic order within 3 centuries. So you commit genocide?" President Moore demanded. "This is monstrous." "This is mercy," Dux replied. "Total extinction was recommended by some. Instead, Earth will remain under blockade. Your remaining population will be closely monitored. All off-world colonies are now under Council control." The communication ended abruptly. Earth was cut off, surrounded by an impenetrable wall of alien warships. News trickled in of resistance being crushed, of colonies falling one by one. But one piece of news gave humanity hope. Admiral Thomas Taylor and the 7th Fleet had been on a deep space training mission when the attacks began. Out of range of the initial assault, they had gone dark, disappearing into the vastness of space rather than returning to a doomed Earth. As the people of Earth faced their new reality as prisoners on their own planet, rumors spread. Admiral Taylor was still out there. The 7th Fleet was intact. And perhaps most importantly, they would not forget what had been done to humanity. In the darkness between the stars, humanity's revenge was already taking shape. Admiral Thomas Taylor stood motionless on the bridge of the Defiance, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. Around him, the crew worked in near silence, the weight of what they had lost hanging heavy in the recycled air. The 7th Fleet, or what remained of it, drifted in the shadow of a gas giant in an unmarked star system, far from established trade routes. 15 ships had survived. 15 out of hundreds that once protected Earth and her colonies. "Status report," Taylor said, his voice low but carrying across the bridge. Commander Lisa Reed approached with a tablet. "We've gathered 6 more refugee ships in the past week, sir. That brings our civilian population to just over 20,000. Taylor nodded grimly. For 3 months since the attack, they had been collecting survivors. Colony ships that escaped the initial bombardment, research vessels that had been in deep space, civilian transports that managed to slip through the blockades. And our supplies. 4 months at current rationing levels, Reed replied. The hydroponics labs are working at maximum capacity, but we need to find a permanent solution soon." Taylor turned to the main view screen, which showed the fleet's current hideout, a mineral-rich asteroid belt that provided some cover from long-range scans. "Any word from our scouts?" "Yes, sir. Major Grant returned an hour ago." Reed's expression changed, showing the first hint of hope in weeks. "He made contact with the Lorian ship as planned. They're willing to meet." This was the news Taylor had been waiting for. The Lorians were known to have opposed the attack on humanity, one of the few Council species to do so publicly. "Have Grant meet me in the war room. And call in the other captains." 2 hours later, Taylor stood before the assembled leadership of what they now called the Human Resistance. Military officers in worn uniforms sat alongside civilian leaders who had survived the attack. "The Lorians have confirmed what we suspected," Taylor said, activating a holographic display. The attack was not a unanimous council decision. It was orchestrated primarily by the Drek and pushed through using political manipulation. A hologram showed a tall, blue-skinned alien, a Drek military commander. "This is High General Mox, the architect of the attack. According to Lorian intelligence, he spent years convincing the Council that humans posed an existential threat." Dr. Alan Ross, once a xenobiologist on Europa, leaned forward. "Why would they fear us so much? We were centuries behind most Council species technologically." "That's what's interesting," Taylor replied, switching the display to show human brain scans alongside alien ones. "The Lorians believe it's not our technology they fear, but our minds." The room fell silent as Taylor explained. Most Council species had evolved along predictable paths. Their thought processes, while alien, followed logical patterns that could be analyzed and predicted. Their military doctrine relied heavily on AI simulations and probability models. "Humans don't think like they do," Taylor continued. "Our decision-making incorporates intuition, emotional responses, and creative leaps that their models can't predict. In military terms, that makes us dangerous." Captain Maria Ortiz, commander of the scout ship Phantom spoke up. "So they attacked us because their computers told them we're unpredictable." "Essentially, yes," Taylor confirmed. "And in doing so, they gave us our greatest weapon." He tapped his console, bringing up images of captured Council technology they had been studying. "We've reverse-engineered enough of their systems to understand their weaknesses. Their ships, their communications, their entire military infrastructure, it all operates on predictive algorithms." Taylor smiled for the first time in months. "And we're the one thing they can't predict." As the meeting continued into the night, plans took shape. Small strike teams, hit-and-run tactics, unconventional strategies that no Council eye could anticipate. In the darkness of space, hunted and outnumbered, humanity prepared to fight back in ways the Galactic Council would never see coming. Lieutenant Alex Parker floated in the maintenance shaft of the captured Drek scout ship, carefully removing a neural interface module. Sweat beaded on his forehead, despite the cooling system in his suit. "How's it coming, Parker?" Dr. Mirabelle's voice crackled through his comm. "Almost got it," he replied, gently disconnecting the final coupling. "This is weird tech, Doc. It's like it's designed to interface directly with their biology." 6 months had passed since Admiral Taylor had begun organizing the resistance. In that time, they had established a hidden base in an asteroid field and launched their first counter-operations. This captured scout ship was their biggest prize yet. Back in the makeshift lab aboard the Defiance, Dr. Bell examined the neural module with fascination. "This confirms our theory," she said as Taylor entered the lab. "Admiral, look at this." She activated a holographic display showing the alien device's inner workings. The Drek, like most Council species, have developed technology that links directly to their nervous systems. Their ships are essentially extensions of themselves. Taylor frowned. "That doesn't sound like a weakness." "It's not for them," Bell replied with a hint of excitement. "But their systems are calibrated for their neurology, not ours. When I tried to interface with it," she played a recording of her earlier experiment. The alien system had connected to her neural patterns and immediately crashed, sending error messages in the Drek language. Their technology can't process human thought patterns, Taylor realized, eyes widening. "Exactly. And I think we can use that." 2 weeks later, a small team of human ships approached a Council outpost on the edge of what had once been human territory. The 3 vessels had been retrofitted with salvaged alien technology and a new stealth system of human design. Commander John Reed led the mission from the bridge of the Shadow Asterisk. All ships maintain stealth approach. Remember, their detection systems are looking for patterns they recognize. The human ships moved erratically, following no standard formation or approach vector. Inside each ship, pilots flew by instinct rather than computer-assisted navigation. "Contact in 30 seconds, reported the tactical officer. "Council defense grid is active, but not targeting us." Reed nodded. "Commence Operation Ghost." The 3 ships split up, each targeting a different part of the outpost. The Shadow Asterisk headed for the central command node. As they closed in, Reed activated the modified neural interface they had developed. Unlike the Drek original, this one was designed to broadcast human thought patterns rather than receive commands. The effect was immediate. Throughout the outpost, alien systems began to malfunction. Defense grids went offline. Communication arrays shut down. The predictive algorithms that managed everything from life support to weapons couldn't process the chaotic, emotional human inputs flooding their networks. "We're in their systems," Reed reported to the fleet. "Phase 2, beginning now." Teams of humans in light combat armor boarded the station. The alien defenders, confused by their failing technology, put up little resistance. Within an hour, the outpost was under human control. In the command center, Reed accessed the outpost's database, downloading everything: fleet movements, defense codes, communication protocols. Most importantly, they found detailed maps of Council space and the locations of other military installations. "Send the all-clear to Admiral Taylor," Reed ordered. "Tell him Operation Ghost was a complete success." Back at the hidden base, Taylor reviewed the data from the captured outpost. His officers gathered around the strategic display, studying the Council's defensive positions. "They never expected us to turn their own technology against them," Taylor said. "Their entire military doctrine is based on prediction and pattern recognition. We just proved those systems can't handle human unpredictability." He pointed to several locations on the map. "These are the key nodes in their communication network. If we can capture or disable them using the same tactics." For the first time since the attack on Earth, a genuine smile crossed Taylor's face. "The Council thinks they know what humans are capable of. They're about to learn how wrong they are." Throughout the hidden base, engineers were already retrofitting more ships with the new Ghost technology, preparing for the next phase of humanity's unexpected comeback. Admiral Taylor stood in the dimly lit meeting chamber aboard the Defiance Asterisk, now serving as both flagship and headquarters for the human resistance. Across from him sat 2 figures unlike any humans had encountered before. On the left, Ambassador Rill of the Lorians, a slender, amphibious being with iridescent skin that rippled with bioluminescent patterns. On the right was Coordinator Vox of the Vex, a crystalline entity whose silicon-based body hummed with internal energy. "We've reviewed your evidence against the Drek," Rill said, her voice melodic despite the translator. "It confirms what many Council species have suspected for centuries. Taylor nodded, maintaining his composure despite the significance of this meeting. That the Drek have been manipulating council policy. More than manipulating, Vox replied, the crystalline facets of their face catching the light as they spoke. The Drek have systematically suppressed or subjugated any species they deemed a potential rival. The holographic display between them activated, showing dozens of star systems. The Lorians once controlled this entire sector, Rill explained, indicating a region now marked as Drek territory. 2 centuries ago, they orchestrated a resource crisis that forced us to surrender most of our colonies. The Vex suffered similarly, Vox added. Our quantum processing abilities were deemed a destabilizing influence. We were restricted to a single star system, our growth artificially limited by council sanctions. Taylor leaned forward. And humans are just their latest target. Yes, but you've accomplished something no other species has managed, Rill said, admiration evident in her voice. You've successfully fought back. Which is why we're here, Vox continued. The Lorians and Vex propose an alliance. Your military tactics combined with our knowledge of council systems and biotechnology could change the balance of power. Taylor studied the alien representatives carefully. After a year of guerrilla warfare, the human resistance had achieved remarkable successes. Their ghost ships had raided dozens of Drek outposts. They'd freed thousands of human prisoners. But they remained vastly outnumbered, with limited resources. What exactly are you offering? Taylor asked. Rill gestured, and the hologram changed to show a massive orbital structure. This is the Lorian bioengineering facility hidden in the Cygnus Nebula. We can offer advanced medical technology, food production systems, and biological adaptations that would help humans survive in hostile environments. And the Vex can provide this, Vox said as the display shifted to show intricate crystalline technology. Quantum processors that can interface with your ghost ship technology, multiplying its effectiveness. Our crystals can store vast amounts of energy and information, enough to power your entire fleet for years. Taylor's tactical mind immediately saw the potential. And what do you want in return? Freedom, they answered in unison. The Drek have ruled through fear for too long, Rill said. Your species has proven they aren't invincible. We want our worlds back, Vox added simply. We want what was taken from us. Taylor called in his senior officers, and for hours they discussed the proposed alliance. Commander Reed voiced security concerns. Dr. Bell was fascinated by the technological possibilities. Captain Ortiz worried about coordinating military operations with alien allies. But the decision, ultimately, was clear. 2 months later, a Drek mining colony in the Rigel sector received an emergency distress call from a transport ship. When they sent vessels to investigate, they found no transport, only 3 human ghost ships accompanied by Lorian stealth cruisers and Vex crystal ships. The battle was brief and decisive. The mining colony, which had once belonged to the Vex, changed hands in less than a day. Similar coordinated attacks occurred across council space. Human tactical unpredictability, Lorian biological adaptability, and Vex quantum processing created a combination that Drek military AI couldn't counter. On the newly liberated Vex colony, Admiral Taylor addressed the combined forces of what they now called the Alliance of the Oppressed. Today, we've proven what can be accomplished together, he said to the assembled humans, Lorians, and Vex. This is just the beginning. The Drek believed they could divide the galaxy's species against each other. Instead, they've united us. As he spoke, reports came in of more species seeking to join their cause, former council members who had suffered under Drek dominance. The tide was turning, and a galactic council was beginning to tremble. Red alert sirens wailed across the Drek military base on Proxima Centauri II, formerly a human colony. Commander Kraz rushed to the command center, his blue scales reflecting the emergency lights. Report, he barked at his subordinates. Alliance forces attacking in the Arcturus and Procyon sectors. Commander, an officer responded. The Rigel shipyards are under heavy assault. Vex crystal ships have disabled our main defense grid. Kraz growled in frustration. This marked the fifth coordinated attack this week. The Drek High Command was stretched thin, their once invincible fleets scattered across too many fronts. Deploy the 7th Battle Group to Rigel, he ordered. Recall the border patrols from Earth's solar system if necessary. What Kraz didn't know was that these attacks were merely a diversion. The real mission, Operation Nemesis, was already underway. Deep in Council space, a small, unmarked vessel approached the massive central habitat, the heart of Galactic Council operations. The ship bore no insignia. Its hull coated with Lorian biomaterial that absorbed scanning beams and mimicked background radiation. Inside, a strike team of 12 waited in tense silence. 3 humans, 3 Lorians, 3 Vex, and 3 Talari, a bird-like species that had joined the Alliance last month. Captain Maya Ortiz checked her gear one final time. Her Ghost Tech interface hummed quietly against her temple, ready to disrupt Council systems. 2 minutes to docking, the pilot announced. All systems nominal. Their security grid still registers us as maintenance traffic. Ortiz turned to her team. Remember the mission. We get to the archive, extract the evidence, and broadcast it across all Council channels. We're not here for revenge. We're here for justice. Lieutenant Kell, a Talari with iridescent feathers, clicked his beak in agreement. The truth is our most powerful weapon against the Drek. The small ship attached itself to an emergency airlock on the central habitat's outer ring. Using overrides provided by their Lorian allies, they bypassed security and entered the massive station. While Operation Nemesis infiltrated the Council heart, Admiral Taylor led the Alliance fleet toward Earth. After 2 years of planning and building their forces, the time had come to break the blockade around humanity's homeworld. All ships, prepare for jump. Taylor ordered from the bridge of the Defiance *, now upgraded with Vex quantum drives and Lorian adaptive armor. Remember, our goal is to disable, not destroy. The universe is watching today. Around him, the combined fleet of over 300 vessels, human ghost ships, Lorian biocruisers, Vex crystal carriers, and vessels from a dozen other species who had joined their cause, prepared for the most significant battle since the Alliance formed. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, immediately facing the Drek blockade fleet orbiting Earth. For a moment, both sides seemed frozen in surprise. Taylor opened a channel to all ships. Begin Operation Homecoming. Back on the central habitat, Ortiz's team fought their way through increasingly heavy resistance toward the secure archives. 3 of their team had fallen, but they pressed on, their diverse abilities proving remarkably effective against the Council's defenses. The vault is ahead, reported Sen, a Vex operative whose crystalline body absorbed energy weapon fire. I can sense the data storage arrays. They breached the final door to find themselves in a vast chamber filled with glowing data crystals, the collective knowledge and secrets of the Galactic Council. Look for Section Delta 9, Ortiz instructed. According to our intelligence, that's where they keep the classified Drek files. It took them 17 precious minutes to locate and extract the data they sought. What they found exceeded their expectations. Detailed records of centuries of Drek manipulation, falsified threat assessments, even genocides blamed on natural disasters. Most damning of all were the records about Earth, showing that humans had been targeted not because they were a threat, but because Drek predictive models couldn't control them. We've got it all, Ortiz said, inserting the data crystal into their broadcast device. Sen, can you access the station's communication array? The Vex's crystalline form glowed brighter. Yes, all Council species will receive this transmission simultaneously. As the truth began broadcasting across thousands of worlds, the battle near Jupiter reached its climax. The Drek blockade, already weakened by redeployed ships, found itself outmaneuvered by Taylor's unpredictable tactics. The path to Earth was opening at last, just as the Council's foundations began to crumble from within. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so chaotic. Representatives from 23 species shouted accusations across the circular hall. The massive holographic displays overhead showed scenes of battles throughout Council space and the damning evidence Captain Ortiz's team had broadcast. High Commander Dux of the Drek stood isolated at the center podium, his blue scales darkening with rage. "These are fabrications," he bellowed. "Human propaganda designed to fracture our unity." The Lorian representative rose, her luminescent skin pulsing with indignation. "The archives bear the Council's own authentication codes, Dux. You cannot deny what we all see plainly." Before the argument could escalate further, the chamber's main doors slid open. A hush fell over the assembly as Admiral Thomas Taylor walked in, flanked by representatives from the Alliance races. Taylor wore his formal uniform, the emblem of Earth prominent on his chest. "The human," gasped several council members. Taylor's eyes fixed on Dux as he approached the central speaking platform. He carried no weapon, yet his presence commanded the room. "Members of the Galactic Council," Taylor began, his voice steady. "For 2 years, you have believed that Earth and her colonies were defeated. Today, that illusion ends." He activated his own data projection, showing the current state of the battle at Earth. The Drek blockade fleet was surrounded, many ships already disabled by the Alliance's combined forces. "Earth is free again," Taylor continued. "And I come before you not seeking revenge, but justice." The Talari representative stepped forward, spreading his feathered arms. "The Alliance of the Oppressed recognizes the Council's authority, but demands accountability for the Drek's actions." For hours, evidence was presented. Records from the archives showed how the Drek had manipulated threat assessments, orchestrated resource crises, and even arranged accidents for species that opposed them. The attack on Earth had been the boldest move in a centuries-long campaign of domination. Several Council species formally renounced their ties to the Drek and pledged reparations to humans and other victims. The Araxian Collective, a highly respected elder species, called for the immediate removal of all Drek representatives from Council positions. As the chamber descended into procedural debates, an urgent message appeared on Taylor's secure communicator. He read it, his expression hardening. "The Drek High Command has launched a final attack," he announced, interrupting the proceedings. "A suicide fleet is heading directly for Earth with planet-killer weapons." In orbit around Earth, Commander Lisa Reed watched in horror as 30 Drek dreadnoughts emerged from faster-than-light travel, their weapon systems already charging. "All Alliance ships, defensive formation Beta," she ordered. "Prioritize the vessels with singularity cannons." The battle that followed would later be known as the Last Stand of Earth. Alliance ships threw themselves at the Drek fleet, using every tactic and technology they had developed over 2 years of resistance. Human ghost ships slipped past Drek defenses, their unpredictable maneuvers confounding enemy targeting systems. Lorian biocruisers released clouds of microscopic organisms that ate through Drek hull materials. Vex crystal ships projected quantum disruption fields that disabled Drek weapons. Still, 3 Drek dreadnoughts broke through, their planet killers aimed at Earth's surface. "We can't stop them all," Reed's tactical officer reported grimly. At that moment, the impossible happened. Weapons fire erupted from behind the Drek ships. Council vessels from species that had just renounced the Drek were arriving to defend Earth. "This is Council Fleet Commander Torque of the Araxian Collective," came a transmission across all channels. "By emergency authority of the Council majority, we are intervening to prevent further war crimes." The combined firepower of the Alliance and Council loyalists overwhelmed the remaining Drek ships. The last dreadnought exploded just 30,000 kilometers from Earth's atmosphere. Back in the Council chamber, Dux received news of his fleet's failure with visible shock. As guards from multiple Council species surrounded him, he looked at Taylor with hatred. "You've destroyed everything," he hissed. Taylor shook his head. "No, we're building something new." A galaxy where power doesn't come from fear or domination. As the Drek leadership was taken into custody, representatives from 15 council species approached Taylor with formal offers of peace and reparation. The reckoning had come, and with it, the chance for a new beginning. The sun rose over New Washington, Earth's rebuilt capital city, casting a golden glow across buildings that blended human architecture with alien influences. 5 years had passed since the fall of the Drek leadership and the liberation of Earth. Admiral Taylor, now Ambassador Taylor, stood on the balcony of the newly constructed United Species Embassy. Below, representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations mingled in the gardens, preparing for the historic ceremony. "Hard to believe how much has changed," said a familiar voice behind him. Taylor turned to see Captain Maya Ortiz, her uniform now bearing the insignia of Fleet Commander, the scar running down her left cheek, a reminder of her mission to the Council archives, had faded but would never disappear completely. "Sometimes I still expect to wake up on the Defiance hiding in some forgotten corner of space," Taylor admitted. Ortiz nodded. "Instead, we're about to sign the most significant treaty in galactic history." They looked out at Earth, once blockaded and isolated, now the center of a transformed galactic community. Ships from dozens of species filled the skies, trading, exploring, and cooperating in ways previously unimaginable under Drek influence. "It's time," Ortiz said, checking her timepiece. "They're waiting for you." The Grand Assembly Hall could hold 10,000 beings of various physiologies. Today, it was filled to capacity, with millions more watching the broadcast across settled space. At the center stage, Taylor took his position alongside representatives from the original Alliance species and reformed council members. Before them lay the Treaty of Earth, the document that would formally establish the new galactic cooperative. The Araxian elder, Torque, spoke first. His ancient, crystalline body glimmered as he addressed the assembly. "Today marks the end of the concept of managed species," he announced, his translated voice resonating through the hall. "No longer will any civilization be deemed too dangerous or unpredictable to determine its own destiny." The Lorian representative, Ambassador Rill, stepped forward next. "The former territories of the Drek Dominion will be redistributed to the species they displaced or oppressed. Reparations will continue for a century to heal the wounds of their rule." Sen of the Vex, whose crystalline form had grown more complex with age, added, "Knowledge and technology shall be shared freely, with respect for each species' unique path of development. The secrets that once divided us will now unite us." Finally, it was Taylor's turn. He looked across the vast audience, seeing humans sitting among dozens of alien species, former enemies now allies and friends. 5 years ago, humanity faced extinction, he began, his voice steady. "We survived through determination, but we prevailed through cooperation. The lesson we learned is clear. The greatest strength comes not from domination, but from diversity." He gestured to the treaty. "This document establishes humanity's pledge to serve as guardians of galactic liberty. We commit our unique perspectives and abilities not to conquest, but to protection. Where there is oppression, we will offer resistance. Where there is need, we will offer aid." One by one, representatives approached to sign the treaty. As each added their mark, a new star illuminated on the massive galactic map overhead, symbolizing their world's commitment to the new order. Later that evening, Taylor stood alone on a quiet hillside outside the city. Construction drones hummed in the distance, rebuilding what had been destroyed. Above, the stars shone brighter than they had in his youth, before the war. He heard footsteps approaching and turned to see Dr. Bell, now leading Earth's Advanced Technology Exchange Program. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, joining him in gazing at the stars. "Just thinking about cost," Taylor replied quietly. "Billions lost. Entire colonies destroyed. Sometimes I wonder if it was worth it." Bell was silent for a moment. "Look there," she finally said, pointing to where a new orbital habitat was taking shape, its lights visible even from the ground. Humans working alongside Lorians, Vex, and a dozen other species. Children being born who will never know the fear of extinction. Taylor nodded slowly. A high price for a better galaxy. The responsibility is heavy, Bell acknowledged. We've gone from fighting for survival to helping shape the future of dozens of civilizations. As the first light of dawn touched the eastern sky, Taylor took one last look at the stars, not as distant points of light, but as homes and havens for countless beings now connected in ways the Drek had never anticipated. They tried to exterminate us because they couldn't predict what we would do, Taylor said with a slight smile. I doubt anyone could have predicted this. Across the galaxy, a new era had begun, one where humanity's place was not as conquerors or victims, but as architects of cooperation, defenders of freedom, and catalysts for change.